It's time for Waking Up with Wesley. Today's forecast and weather-wide discussion with WLOX First Alert Weather's senior meteorologist, Wesley Williams.
Waking Up with Wesley is sponsored by Exclusive Auto Brokers. For the best deals on wheels, visit Exclusive Auto Brokers on Beatline Road in Long Beach.
Good morning, Mississippi, and thank you for waking up with Wesley. I'm Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. So we're going to take a look at today's forecast, which features a chance for scattered showers and storms. Plus, we're actually going to take a look at the tropics with Tropical Storm Erin continuing to brew out in the Atlantic. Let's take a look at the first alert radar map this morning. We are seeing some rain in parts of our area. For many of you, there's no rain at all, but for our neighbors in George County, we are finding some heavy downpours and thunderstorms this morning. We can take a closer zoomed-in view of the first alert radar and see a pretty intense downpour impacting areas near Lucedale along Highway 26, Highway 98, and other portions of northern George County. So do expect to see some of these showers continuing in that area as we go through your Wednesday morning here. Now, not everywhere seeing that rain. It looks like we don't have that as much once you zoom the map out across the rest of our 6 southernmost counties, but it is primarily up into George County. If you're just waking up, this might be new to you, although we did earlier this morning talk about this in Good Morning Mississippi. We are basically on the left side of a tropical swirl, a tropical wave that has moved inland over Alabama. And man, we were tracking some intense rain in Alabama earlier this morning. Some places near Fairhope picked up more than a foot of rain in western Baldwin County, and they were under a flash flood warning as a result. So it was a close call for our Mississippi coast, but we were spared from the worst of it. But that doesn't mean we're completely dry here, right? There are still going to be some rain chances today. As we go through the 8 o'clock hour, you can see that the chance for rain around 50% across most of our area, especially looks like the modeling keying in on some of the wettest places being in George and Jackson counties, where you're closest to those showers this morning. So good job on the model, picking up on that rain that is happening now and understanding that it will likely continue in those areas near the Alabama line for the next hour or so. Now, after around 10 o'clock this morning, we do expect to see kind of a lull in the activity, but that won't last forever. The deeper we go into Wednesday p.m., watch this zone here. It looks like much of Pearl River, Stone, and George counties, and maybe northern portions, I should slide this down a little bit, northern portions of Hancock, Harrison, and Jackson counties could get into new developing showers and storms for Wednesday p.m. So let's go through time here as we go closer to 3, 4, and 5 p.m. And you can see those areas like Stone County picking up on those higher rain chances. The rain chance for Wednesday p.m. is around 40 to 60%. But some of those highest chances could be mainly to the north of Interstate 10. You can see that 40 to 60% chance for rain continuing for Wednesday evening. Perhaps the main area seeing that rain could be mainly to the north of Interstate 10. So perhaps around 6, 7, or 8 p.m. you might not have much rain in a place like Biloxi. But if you look to the north, it might be a few more of those showers and storms closer to Wiggins and Bendale and Lucedale and maybe even Saucier and parts of Van Cleef. Now, by the rest of Wednesday night, as we go closer to 8, 9, 10 p.m., 11 p.m., we might find a gradual decrease in that rain activity. But understand that by the time Wednesday and Wednesday night is said and done, there might be some places that pick up more than an inch of rain. That's what the yellow color indicates, more than an inch of rain, and you are seeing that across multiple counties in South Mississippi for Wednesday and Wednesday night. So multiple areas could pick up more than an inch of rain. And then you see this orange or red color indicating rain amounts greater than an inch or two that could be possible in a few isolated spots. So we can't rule out some localized street flooding. It might not necessarily be over George County like the modeling is showing. But it does look like the general trend for some of the heavier amounts generally going to be closer to George and Jackson counties, places closest to the Alabama line. But just understand, there's going to be some places today that get some of those heavier downpours. Do you see that same setup tomorrow or Friday? And the answer is no. Our weather pattern is going to trend less wet and as a result become hotter. Yesterday's high temperature was 83. For August, that's weird. But don't worry, we'll make it less weird for you. We're heading into the sizzling mid-90s as we head into the weekend. So that is going to be the first time that we have temperatures that hot since July. We've actually gone the majority of August avoiding the middle 90s, but this might be the first time that we see much of that this month, and maybe we might get back into that heat advisory situation in which we find some heat advisories issued for South Mississippi or nearby areas, since you know that it's not just about the temperature, but it's also when you factor in the humidity, you get the heat index, and I suspect we're probably going to see a heat index greater than 105, maybe greater than 108 across parts of our area on Saturday and Sunday. So we're going to take a look at the tropics now. There's some activity that you might be trying to keep a close eye on. We're watching it for you so that you don't have to worry too much. There's a look at the latest for the season so far. 5 named storms. Erin, the latest named system, which formed on August 11th, a couple of days ago. There's actually 2 available names, Fernan and Gabrielle, and those might get taken by those 2 areas with a low chance to become a depression or storm. One of those areas is to the north of Bermuda, located here. Low chance to become a depression or storm. Another area in the western Caribbean, which is going to move into the Bay of Campeche. And we'll take a look at that in a moment. But first, of course, all eyes on Erin, as Erin is poised to begin strengthening today. And it is on track to become a hurricane, which will be this season's first hurricane in the Atlantic, Gulf, and Caribbean in just a few days. You take a look at the satellite for Wednesday morning with Erin, and you find that the system is still kind of lopsided with its organization of thunderstorms. For example, if we split the storm in half, draw a pink arrow, and you're noticing where's most of the weather. Is it on the left side of Erin or the right side of Erin? Most of the weather is on the left side. So that's where we're finding the majority of the enhanced thunderstorm activity on the western side of Erin's counterclockwise circulation. What's happening on the right side, the eastern side of Erin's circulation, is there's probably still a good amount of dry air being ingested by a portion of the circulation, and the dry air helps to limit thunderstorm development. There's also probably some wind shear going on, perhaps some strong winds upstairs in the air, which might be blowing from east to west across the system, and that is pushing all the thunderstorms to one side, giving that lopsided appearance. I will say it definitely has more thunderstorms today than it did yesterday. And so maybe that overall trend will continue. I believe it is going to be moving over warmer waters the farther west it goes, and those warmer waters will likely favor an intensifying storm. Now, this is the forecast track issued by the National Hurricane Center for Erin. They released this particular cone at 4 a.m. Wednesday. They will release a new update to this cone around 9 or 10 a.m. Wednesday. So if you are watching this on playback or on replay, understand that this information might be outdated and you should seek current info to get the latest updated forecast track. But if you're watching with us live, this is the current information. And as you can see, the forecast track keeps Erin at tropical storm strength on Wednesday and Thursday. But then by the time we get to Thursday night, also known as Friday morning, once it's 1 in the morning, that could be that time frame when Erin finally becomes a hurricane. Category 1, then 2, then 3. So major hurricane is still on the table, located near or to the north of Puerto Rico by this weekend. You're noticing the track, though, is showing a general turn to the north, which, as a resident of the Gulf Coast, I like to see that. Show me more of that. Show me more, as much north as possible. I don't want a major hurricane pointed at the Gulf Coast. And for now, it looks like that might not be the case. We might not have to worry about a major hurricane moving toward the Gulf Coast. But remember, their forecast cones are only issued for 5 days into the future. So here we are on Wednesday, and we can only see through Sunday night, also known as Monday morning. So once we get further into the future, we'll see more of the cone, and I'm hoping that more of the future cone will continue to reveal more of a track toward the north. It's important to remember that there is a margin of error with these NHC cones, especially on day 5 and day 4. And sometimes the National Hurricane Center admits it themselves. They've literally admitted it. If you read their public advisory this morning, they want to remind you that sometimes there can be a margin of error by greater than 50, maybe greater than 100 miles. I don't remember the exact numbers they use, but it is a good significant amount of miles that the forecast cone can be wrong when you go that far in the future. They tend to do a pretty good job in the near term in this kind of narrower part of the cone. You can see how narrow the cone is there. But once you go a little bit further into the future, the cone becomes wider because there is more of that uncertainty. Let's talk about the other area. We'll talk a little bit more about Erin and what happens after 5 days, but let's talk about the other area for a brief moment. So what's happening on Wednesday morning, there's a tropical wave located in the West Caribbean. It's got a lot of moisture with it, going to cause tropical rains over the Yucatan Peninsula on Wednesday morning, and really into much of the day Wednesday. We can track this tropical moisture, which cannot develop when it is over land. But once it reemerges over water, the warm waters of the southern Gulf, or the Bay of Campeche, that's that time frame that the National Hurricane Center says this little area has a moment, a window of opportunity to become a depression or storm. As of this morning's information, they give it a low chance to develop. Maybe that chance might go up or go down in the coming days. But the chance is there, the opportunity is there, the window of opportunity is there for this to take advantage of the warm waters in the southwestern Gulf and perhaps make a run at becoming a tropical system. Where does it go? It goes up into Mexico and Texas near the border. So those will be areas by Friday. You can see this plume of tropical moisture. Maybe it's a depression, maybe it's a storm, heading for the coast. Near Texas and Mexico. And then by the time you go to Saturday, it's inland. And so once it is off the water, there is no longer a possibility of it to develop anymore. So there's not going to be any concern once we get to Saturday of this developing, because it should be inland by that point in time, causing some rains across those areas. We can take a look at the rain amounts. These are projected rain amounts by the GFS computer model. It looks like the majority of the rain could actually take place over the water. Some of the heavier rains over the water, probably amounts of greater than a ½ inch to an inch. Once you look at the rain over land, looks like around 1/4 inch. Totally manageable. Even on the coast of Mexico, looks like again around 1 inch to a ½ inch, very manageable. You can switch the model to a different computer model. There's a European computer model. The amounts aren't terribly different. The same picture is painted. The majority of the heaviest rain happens where? Over the water. So this means less of a threat to land areas. And on the Texas-Mexico border, you're looking at rain amounts of around a ½ inch. And in other portions on the Mexico coast near the Yucatan, and rain amounts around 1/4 inch to a ½ inch. Very manageable. Let's go back to this map as we track the tropical moisture. So we told you Saturday, that area getting inland. Let's switch our attention to Erin. Remember, at the same time as Texas is going to be getting rains from that tropical weather over this weekend, Erin will be making a run at major hurricane strength, located in this area to the north of Puerto Rico. So a big, powerful hurricane will be tracked this weekend, and fortunately, the information still suggests that turn toward the north. This, I believe, is the European modeling, which is in agreement with the GFS computer modeling. And you're seeing on Monday, we don't have the forecast cone anymore now that we're beyond 5 days into the future. But on Monday, you've got that system located about there. Tuesday continuing to move to the north, Tuesday, August 19th. Wednesday, August 20th, also continuing to move to the north. My favorite thing about this is that it does not show it moving toward the Gulf Coast, and it's going to continue to move toward the north. We can take a look at both of the computer models at the same time, overlaid with the NHC cone. So the green is the European model, the yellow is the GFS model. And this is basically the extent of that 5-day forecast cone. Once we go outside the cone, you don't have that anymore. You're more than 5 days into the future. So we just got the long-range computer models, and we just showed you one of them, but we'll show you both of them at the same time here. They both show pretty good agreement. On Tuesday, Erin, probably a big, powerful hurricane located somewhere between the Bahamas and Bermuda. On Wednesday, Erin located close to Bermuda. Both models agree on that scenario. Thursday, Erin located to the north of Bermuda. This is not the first day that we've seen this type of model agreement. The more days we keep checking this, and the more days the models keep saying the same thing and not flip-flopping back and forth, that will continue to increase our confidence on this happening. And we don't just have two long-range computer models, we have several of them. We can plot all of them here with the spaghetti lines. We'll take that full so you can see more detail. So again, remember the forecast cone only goes out 5 days. So this would get you to Sunday night. And then beyond Sunday night, where are most of the red lines pointed? Are most of the red lines pointing over here toward the Bahamas? Not really. Most of them are pointing up here. So when we see the new cone released at 10 o'clock or around 9 or 10 o'clock Wednesday morning, this morning, they may create an extension of that cone that looks like this. It's going to show even more of that northerly turn based on the modeling that we are seeing right now. So your tropical takeaways. Erin is still expected to become a major hurricane in the Atlantic by this weekend. And fortunately, it looks like the latest information is consistently showing that turn to the north. The problem is we're checking the forecast today and Erin is still moving to the west. We will check Erin again tomorrow and Erin will probably still be moving to the west even on Thursday. But then at some point Thursday night into Friday, that's when that slow, gradual turn to the north might begin. And by this weekend, we should expect to see more northerly movement. But until it happens, we'll be waiting for it to happen. So that's why we're monitoring the progress of Erin closely. And like we said earlier, there's that Caribbean area, Western Caribbean area that could bring some rains to portions of Texas and Mexico. So right now, as of today, I don't have any information to bring you that suggests that the Gulf Coast is going to see any kind of significant tropical weather over the next 5 to 7 days. There's no credibility to any such threat. So that's good news. I hope the good news continues, but we understand that this is nearing the peak of hurricane season. As we approach September, that's when activity tends to peak every year. So we should not be surprised to see new systems getting named in the coming weeks and possibly see some threats to parts of the U.S. mainland in the coming weeks. It is hurricane season. Hurricanes are supposed to develop. And unfortunately, I guess hurricanes are eventually supposed to hit land. If you have enough of them forming, they're going to run into something eventually. They can't all be out to sea. I wish they could. That would be so great. But it's not the way it works. So when we inevitably have more systems forming, we are hoping that they stay away from the Mississippi coast. But this is not a bad time to maybe go over your hurricane season plans as we approach the peak of the season. Do you have a plan in place if a storm were to strike tomorrow or next week? Where would you go? Do you have an evacuation plan in mind? Do you live in an evacuation zone? Is your hurricane disaster supplies kit prepared and ready with all the items you need, the non-perishables, the flashlight, the extra batteries, the medications, the whole shebang? If you don't have those preparations in place, maybe now might not be the worst time to work on that. That way, you're not fighting the big rush. You know, if we actually somehow get into a situation in which we are threatened by a storm this season, it might become too late very quickly for you to get prepared, because you're fighting crowds at stores and items are already taken off the shelves that you need for your supplies. So right now, while no one is cleaning the shelves, it will be a good idea to take advantage of this opportunity currently, in which we face no direct threats from any significant tropical weather. Well, that'll do it for this Wednesday edition of Waking Up with Wesley. I've been Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. I hope that you have a great day, and we'll see you again next time.
Waking Up with Wesley has been sponsored by Exclusive Auto Brokers. For the best deals on wheels, visit Exclusive Auto Brokers on Beatline Road in Long Beach.